fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, guys? And good afternoon and welcome to Stateside Footy. And of course, it is time for the MLS live stream. And today it is a Western Conference Showdown between 3 versus 8. Real Salt Lake heading to Minnesota to take on Minnesota United. And I got to say, this is absolutely a brilliant matchup this afternoon. And, I would be remiss if I wouldn't say that I'm actually looking forward to this one because, number one, I think we have to start off with Real Salt Lake. Right now, currently sitting number 3 in the Western Conference, sitting on 25 points, a goal differential of +7, 25 goals scored this season, 8 wins, only 1 draw. So they have definitely been able to handle their business this season. And, of course, 16 goals are attributed to 3 different players, Zavier, Gozo, Sergey Solans, and, of course, Diego Luna. Unfortunately, Diego Luna is not going to be, playing today for Real Salt Lake. But that being said, still, Real Salt Lake, have done, a fantastic job when it comes to player development. And, of course, you're starting to see the fruits of that labor manifest itself within the first team. Of course, Minnesota United, not exactly the start that they kind of hoped for. Yes, they have 6 wins, but 5 losses on the season, paired with 3 draws, a -4 goal differentials. They have leaked 21 goals on the season while only contributing 17. Granted, they are sitting on 21 points. So technically speaking, yes, they are in one of the playoff spots. But again, we're still early enough of the season, and so we have no idea exactly how this one is going to shake out. But that being said, of course, the last time we saw Minnesota United here on the live stream, it was against LAFC, and of course, that was the debut of James Rodriguez. James is no longer with Real Salt Lake as he decided to pick up his ball and head back south for Colombia to prepare himself for World Cup 2026. And of course, we come to find out that it was really kind of just a short-term contract, all in all, when it comes to that as well too. And so yet another piece of an attack that really just doesn't have anything else besides Kelvin Yeboah. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one shakes out today. Let's go ahead and take a look at today's starting lineups, and we will start with Minnesota United as they start off in a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1. And of course, it begins in net with Drake Callender. Of course, last year, obviously, they had MLS goalkeeper of the year of Dane St. Clair, so it was kind of hard for Minnesota to kind of replace the production of a guy like Dane. Drake Callender, he is what he is. A pretty solid MLS level goalkeeper. Really the thing about, strengths when it comes to goalkeepers is exactly who's in front of them. And of course, for Minnesota, it will be their back three of Diaz, Boxall, and Dugan. A midfield four with Duncan and Markanich on the outside, and inside it is Trianis and Jean. And then their attacking three of Chancellor, Pereira, and then, of course, Dieng will be up top for Minnesota. On the bench for Minnesota today will be Alex Smear, Carlos Harvey, Devin Paddleford, Nicholas Romero will be the defenders on the bench. And then, of course, the midfielders coming off will be Long Wayne, Dominic Fritz, and Will Trapp. And then attacking will be Caldera and Gonzalez. Of course, they're still without Julian Gressel and Peter Stroud. They are out for until June at least. For Real Salt Lake, they will be attacking in a 3-4-3. And of course, I'll just say this. For Pablo Mastroeni, he's kind of figured out the sweet spot a little bit for Real Salt Lake, and of course they are scoring goals by the numbers. In goal will be Cabral, and the back three will be Yedlin, Justin Glad, and Lucas Engel. The midfield four will be Zach Booth and Sanabria on the outside. And it looks like with Calix and Spearlings in the middle. And then the attacking three will be Zavier, Gozo. And then it looks like it's going to be Herzakani off the right-hand side and Sergey Salons up the middle for Real Salt Lake. And listen, I like Real Salt Lake. I think they're, when it comes to the upper echelons of the Western Conference, not a lot of people are necessarily taking Real Salt Lake all that seriously, and I think it's just because of the history, associated, especially over the last last 5 to 10 years, where good starts have not necessarily equated in the second half of the season when it comes to them. But I will say that as far as I'm concerned, defensively, I think they found the right combination, and midfield, especially when it comes to Major League Soccer, winning the midfield is 50% of the battle outside of scoring goals, and I think they've also found that one as well too. By the way, on the bench for Real Salt Lake, the backup people will be Max Kirkvolt. Their defenders are going to be Juan Jose Arias, Philip Quinton, and Sam Jenkwa. Midfielders will be Antonio Riquelme, Griffin Dillon, and their attackers off the bench will be Dominic Markuzic, Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos, and then Victor Ultanji. And of course, out will be Jesus Barrera, Arieth Peel, and Emeka Anelli. And of course, I believe Diego Luna is out today for Real Salt Lake. And when I think about this game in totality, generally speaking, when it comes to home teams in Major League Soccer, 50% of the it's actually more than that. It's like 70% of the time, the home teams generally do have the advantage, and I think we've seen that played out. But that being said, when I think about Minnesota United and what we're pretty much going to see is we're going to see a team kind of play 10 behind the ball, and then you're going to see this team try to essentially bounce out on the counter. The interesting thing that I see in today's Minnesota United is the fact that there won't be Kelvin Yeboah available today. So they're not going to necessarily have that quote unquote target 9 where you can literally just try to ping balls down the forward, see if you can win that 50-50 ball, and then try to play something onto the keeper, right? They're essentially going with Dieng today. It's going to be interesting to see how Chancellor is going to play off of them and whether or not this team is going to be able to get forward in numbers. So for me, Minnesota is going to have to win the midfield, and to try to get that link up play, and we'll see if it exactly plays out. Me personally, I think this is going to be a situation where Real Salt Lake is probably going to control the tempo. They're probably going to control the possession as well too. It wouldn't surprise me. But one of the things that I did notice the last time that we saw Minnesota play at home was the fact that they were actually extremely hard to break down. For a team that does leak goals, their home form is vastly different from the type of team that we see on the road. Where they struggle is giving up goals on the road. But for some reason, this team happens to play actually kind of quite strong at Target Field. So we'll see exactly how that or the Allianz, we'll see exactly how this one plays out for Minnesota today. Me personally, it looks like this is probably going to be a Real Salt Lake type of win. Me personally, I just think they have better attackers. I think their midfield is going to be set up quite a bit better than Minnesota. And so from that standpoint, I actually think the chances are going to be a little bit more fruitful for Real Salt Lake on the attacking end versus what we're going to see from Minnesota. But again, we will find out very shortly what Minnesota United, how they're going to come out, how they're going to attack. Although, if history does have anything to say with especially in the short-term history, i.e. the season, this is a team that doesn't necessarily get out in front. More oftentimes than not, it is really going to be a team that is going to, counterattack more than anything else. So we will find out how this thing is going to play out. And just considering that they stick in with a back five, this is going to be set up for Real Salt Lake to pretty much have the advantage in this one going forward. So we'll see exactly how it is. Although I will say that the idea of Zavier Gozo playing off Sergey Salons, I don't know, man. That one gets me a little excited. So I'm kind of excited about it. The one of the players that I will be able to watch that I'm looking for Real Salt Lake, outside of obviously Zavier Gozo, who is absolutely on fire, is, for Minnesota at least, it's going to be Michael Boxall. With Minnesota and their ability to score off the set pieces, Boxall has kind of emerged, if you will, as one of those guys that just seems to be at the right place at the right time when it comes to set pieces. He's chipped in quite a bit this season off the set pieces for Minnesota, and so when they do get forward, they do try to create, whether that's off a corner or whether it's free kicks, free kicks deep in opposition territory. And when you have that type of target in the box, it's something that Real Salt Lake is going to have to look out for. From the other side, obviously Zavier Gozo is going to be somebody that, as far as Minnesota is concerned, one of the things that they absolutely can't do is try to double them, try to be a little too heavy off that right hand side, because one of the things that does tend to happen, especially with skilled players like Zavier Gozo, they do find outlets, right? And so whether that is a ball forward to an attacking player, or whether it's playing it back or playing it in, there always seems to be an outlet where from that pass there is going to be inverted runs, and then all of a sudden you see a dude like Zavier Gozo get open, get behind center backs, and cause problems for goalkeepers. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one plays out. But that being said, Real Salt Lake will play up all over the top too, and will take advantage of Gozo's speed. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how Minnesota will play Zavier Gozo. But that being said, it's like pick your poison, right? Because if Gozo doesn't hurt you, then Sergey Solans is going to hurt you as well too. And one of the things that I would like to see Real Salt Lake do is not be one-dimensional, because teams will overload one side or the other, especially if you're going to continue to go down that side. What I like about Real Salt Lake's attack is the fact that they do have Herzakani on the other side as well too, who kind of gets lost in the talk because of the fact that, you know, you're getting that kind of goal production off the right or through the central. It's the fact that this kid is also pretty talented as well too. And so from that standpoint, you're going to have avenues on both flanks, which way you want to go. And me personally, there's no wrong way. Dan Davenport, 6902 is in the house. It's good to see you, Danny. What do I think of the England squad? And I like it. Now, you have to understand that Thomas Tuchel is in the same boat as Mauricio Pochettino. When they came aboard, they only had about 18 months to learn the player pool and to formulate a squad that's going to be good enough for the World Cup. Not only just good enough for the World Cup, but compete and then also get deep into a World Cup. And I actually think that what Thomas Tuchel put. Now, of course, I understand, English fans' frustration because Cole Palmer's not there and whatever the case may be. But one of the things that you have to understand about what World Cup squads are, and it's not just your 26 best players, because there's going to be, you have to understand that coaches have systems and styles in the way that they want to play. And there's going to be players that fit, and there's going to be players that don't necessarily fit that well. And it's just because you're Cole Palmer doesn't mean you're not immune to that, right? So one of the things that I look at it is okay, cool. I understand the team that he assembled, and I think I'm the type of dude that kind of trusts the guys that have all the data and understand exactly what they're looking for in specific players in order to make that specific attack and defense actually work, right? And so it is about the 26 players that fit together, that have the best chemistry, that have the best consistency together, and that can actually function as a team. And so from that standpoint, I think Thomas Tuchel got it right. I really do. So it's the same thing with the United States as well too. There's a lot of fans that are upset that player X didn't get called in, and it's listen, I understand exactly the thought process behind it, and it's about building a team that is going to fit together and it's going to be able to compete and get wins. That is going to be able to live up to the system and the expectation of what the coach expects, because he feels like this is the team that's going to win him the World Cup. So I understand. I very much understand. So we are getting pretty close now to the start of Minnesota United hosting Real Salt Lake, and it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to this one, and I will shortly let you know exactly what the odds are on this one. The win probabilities for all you degenerate gamblers out there. I know there's a few that turn in. Minnesota United is a plus 100 at 45.1% chance to win. RSL is a plus 230 at a 28.9, and the draw is plus 255, and that is a 26% chance of happening. So there are your win probabilities for tonight's matchup. The referee tonight is the hot lady referee, man. Tori Penso will be calling the game tonight, and in the VAR booth is going to be Claudio Badea and Armando Villarreal Jr. So those are the refs for this one, as it looks like Real Salt Lake will have possession of this one to start. Sorry about that, guys, for all you guys tuning in on TikTok. Just a quick reminder to make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell as we are in a race to 500, and we are dangerously close to 500. I'd like to hit it before the start of the World Cup. So please, man, make sure you support the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button, as we are getting pretty goddamn close. As it looks like not bad. They got the nation's flags on their shirts today that of the nations the players represent. That's pretty cool, as we are getting pretty close to World Cup 2026. As there's the looks like we're getting pretty close to kick, and we are off, as Real Salt Lake will have possession as they're playing from right to left, as this one will go down. We'll get booted down pitch, as that is going to get headed forward, as Real Salt Lake will come away. Oh, no, good play by Minnesota. So Minnesota now will play this one down, as both teams are kind of just jockeying for position here, as finally that ball will get headed back to Cabral, as RSL now will hold possession after that, I guess that back and forth, that initial back and forth. So this one will get sprayed out left, as it will go down the right-hand side, as Glad will play it down to DeAndre Yudlin off the right-hand side, as this one gets pushed forward, and automatically it's taken away by Minnesota. Up the left-hand side, that ball gets played in through the box, and it'll eventually get out of bounds. So this will be a Real Salt Lake throw-in, as it looked like Chancellor got on the end of that one after the takeaway, and Chancellor just drove into the box to play one through. Nobody was there on the backside for Minnesota. So it'll be a Real Salt Lake throw-in, as that one, actually it goes out before it even went in. So Minnesota will have the throw-in. That was kind of an odd exchange there off the right-sided touchline there. So Minnesota United will have the throw-in. It'll be a long throw-in, as that one gets into the box. Eventually, it'll find its way to Justin Glad. Last touch by Glad, so that'll go out, and Minnesota will have their first corner at 2 minutes, 11 seconds here in the first half. And it looks like Pereira will be taking the corner here for Minnesota. As this ball gets whipped in short, and it automatically gets played out. As Salt Lake now will have they do have the position after a ricochet. So here comes Real Salt Lake down the left-hand side, trying to play it in the box. That's good defense by Minnesota, as it looked like Diaz there will pick the back pocket, as Salt Lake now will swing, as Minnesota now will swing it across their back line. Here's Markanich, as Markanich will try to play one to Dang, as he does, and Glad will play that one out. So Minnesota again will have another throw-in. And it looks like Chancellor will be throwing this one in for Minnesota. There's Zavier. Of course, the young American has gotten off to a absolute blistering start for Real Salt Lake. Good enough to be on Mauricio Pochettino's 53-man preliminary roster for the World Cup. And of course, he ultimately did not make it, as this ball will pop down and it will find Pereira there outside the box, and his shot goes wide, as Boxall had yet another good throw in there for Minnesota. but it ends up being much to do about nothing, as Real Salt Lake now will play out of the back here, as they're doing a really good job of pressuring the ball here. And now Cabral is being hounded as that ball will go up the right-hand side and ultimately will get out. So good job right there with the press by Minnesota, as they will come away with possession yet again. There's a flick forward as that ball will go out. Last touch by Glad. So again, Minnesota will have the throw in here off the left-hand touch line. Now they're actually going to say it's Real Salt Lake throwing. Okay, so last touch by Minnesota, as Yedlin will play this one forward. As that ball gets poked through, Minnesota will clear it, as Dieng will head it, but it will come right back down. So Salt Lake will have possession, and there is a whistle here. So I think they're going to say it was offsides by Dieng now. As play resumes, it will be Real Salt Lake possession, as Yedlin tried to play one down over the top, but Minnesota will come away with it. That's a good play right there by Salt Lake. Tries to take the ball away, and in the process, Minnesota comes away with it. So here comes Minnesota's counterattack. And it looks like Pereira fell down. But Minnesota will hold as they try to weave their way through the midfield, and they do. Although that was an errant pass, as Chancellor has to save it. And he does. So Minnesota now will try to play it around their defensive back, as this one will go forward, and now it's nearly taken away right there by Real Salt Lake, as this one gets played back to Boxall as it makes its way to the left-hand side. Here's Chancellor, and that one will get played back yet again, as Real Salt Lake now is starting to pressure the ball themselves. And it looks like there's going to be a whistle against Gozo as play resumes. Both teams are really in that feel out play right here, as Gozo tried to pick that ball and he comes away with it, but eventually it goes out of play. I think they're actually going to blow a whistle against Gozo yet again here. Neither team has really established themselves on the attacking end. I don't understand where the foul was, as Gozo cleanly picked that ball. So this will be a Minnesota free kick here, as that ball will move to the left-hand side here. And there's a ball that's going to go forward, looking for Markanich, and that'll just get out of play. So it'll be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake. Both teams trying to accomplish the same thing at the current moment, playing the ball long, trying to utilize speed. Real Salt Lake has been trying to go down the right-hand side, while Minnesota continues to go down that left-hand side. Not a lot of creativity within either midfield, as both teams have tried to pressure the ball into early mistakes. But then again, we're only eight and a half minutes into the first half here. As here's Glad. That's a nice little pass into the mid, as that ball makes its way out to the right to DeAndre Yedlin. And there's a turnover right there, as Minnesota will come away with it. And that's a good play by DeAndre Yedlin, but last touch out of bounds off of Yedlin. So this will be a throw-in for Minnesota. So Minnesota is doing all the right things through the first 10 minutes here in the first half. As Boxall will have the throw-in. That's a good throw-in right there, as it's going to get headed away, but it'll come right back down, and Chancellor will put it 30 rows up. Well off to the left there. As it fell to some random white girl. Way to go, white girl. As play resumes, here's Glad now. He does have a little space to run forward. Taps it off to DeAndre Yedlin, who's got to play it back. And DeAndre Yedlin plays it off himself as that goes out of bounds. So again, Minnesota doing a very good job of closing down space. And that one's going to be taken away. And Minnesota again forces another takeaway. Here's Chancellor as he's marked by two different players. And now Real Salt Lake will come away with it. But they got nowhere to go. They're trapped on that right-hand side. There's another takeaway by Minnesota. As that ball will come down. Here comes Real Salt Lake trying to play it forward to Gozo. As he does, as he breaks away. Here comes Gozo now. He's got daylight into the box. Here's Gozo. Shoots. Oh, and that goes well wide of the far post. As Real Salt Lake broke free right there with Zavier Gozo down the left-hand side. Not exactly the greatest defending right there by Minnesota. But Gozo felt like he was rushed as he had another defender breathing down. He just places it not exactly accurate right there. And that was Real Salt Lake's first real opportunity as they've been struggling to get past Minnesota and their press. There's another ball that's going to leak through. There's a play to the central area as there was a shot that was take a deflection. And here comes Minnesota now. As it looks like they're just going to hold possession here. And there's a whistle as somebody is down here. As it looks like it's Markanich. As Markanich came into block that shot right there, as he does. I don't understand. Yeah, there you go. You're fine. He came up from it looking pretty goddamn good. As they see that replay, yeah, Zavier just wasn't accurate with that one. Had the trailing defender right behind him. You can feel the footsteps behind you. You got to be a little bit more calm and nervy under those in those circumstances. You can't allow the charging footsteps behind you kind of rattle you out a little bit. As Calendar will boot this one downfield. Are you nervous for tomorrow's match against Spurs and their Premier League fate? A little. I'm more confident in their ability to win. I personally think that the pressure is going to be all on Everton. But the live stream will be tomorrow. As here comes Minnesota now. As they're going to have to play this one back. As here comes Salt Lake now, trying to play it forward to Salons. And now Minnesota will have the advantage coming forward down the left-hand side as Chancellor will lay it back. And they'll try to reset here. As we are coming up on the 14th minute now, a quarter of the way through the first half. As neither side as there's a foul as Chancellor will hit the deck. As DeAndre Yedlin was a little too physical right there. Neither team really have established themselves on either end. outside of a few breaks for Real Salt Lake, this has kind of really been all Minnesota. And credit Minnesota, defensively, they've done everything they're supposed to. They just can't seem to figure out Real Salt Lake's back line. They're doing a pretty good job defensively, Real Salt Lake. As there's the switch to the right-hand side. As Minnesota is trying to figure out which way to go as that ball gets played down. And it looks like Sergey. I don't know, Boxall. That was kind of a rough tackle right there against Salons. As that ball goes down, Salons beats Boxall. And I don't know. It looks like Boxall took the feet out underneath him, but no call against the Australian there. And that's too heavy of a touch for Markanich, as that'll come away. Back to Real Salt Lake, as Cabral now will play it off to the left-hand side. As that ball will go long. As it will find Gozo. As he makes his way down the left-hand side, cuts. And that's a good ball. There's a shot that's going to go well over the bar, 30 rows up. Good ball movement by Real Salt Lake. Just a bad shot right there, as it looked like to be a sitter outside the 18-yard box, and that was just a bad shot right there. Good 1-2 passing between Real Salt Lake. It opened up some space, but yeah, again, defender right behind Zavier Gozo yet again, and he places it 30 rows up. As Minnesota plays this one long. I will say this, that Gozo has done a good job of getting open. But, the finishing so far has been less than stellar. And now there's going to be two players down on the pitch, and it looks like it was Glad and it looks like it was Dang, as it looks like maybe their heads collided. And that's exactly what it is. It looks like both players are up now, so much to do about nothing. As Dieng will come off. Both players have to come off for 10-ish seconds before coming back in. As play resumes. With Real Salt Lake in possession. As this ball goes forward. And here comes Real Salt Lake now. Trying to play their way into the box. That's a good ball over. Oh, good save right there by Drake Callender. As Sergey Salons was coming into the box. Nice play by Booth. As Booth fought his way around the corner, beating Markanich all the way around the corner to play a nice ball in. But here comes Minnesota now. It's Dieng, and Dieng will score. But there's an offside call. So the quick return for Minnesota will get ruled off, as Dieng is called for offside here. And he was offside by 2 body lengths. as that ball that was played forward into Dieng. Not a bad opportunity. That was a good run too, but he was just offside. So play will resume with Real Salt Lake. As Glad is back on the pitch, same with Dieng. That's a good ball forward right here as Gozo will play it in. And that one will find its way out of bounds, so Minnesota will have the throw. And that was just a terrible pass right there from Real Salt Lake. As we're approaching the 20th minute now here in the first half, as Minnesota now will play this around their backside. There's going to be a ball forward, and it looks like it's going to be Markanich. But right there is Booth to take that one away. As this one will play all the way to the left-hand side. And there's the switch to Glad. As here is DeAndre Yedlin. We'll play it into the midfield. Check forward. And here's Sergey Solans. Good passing. And there's a ball forward looking for Zavier. And it's taken away by Minnesota. Good defense by the Loons as they're going to try to play this one forward yet again. And Dieng to make a run. As Dieng says, no. As Real Salt Lake now will get back to Glad. And they will try to play this one down the left side, and they do. And Sanabria to Zavier. Trying to cut in, does. Plays it to the right. Here's Booth now, wide in their shot. Oh, what a goal. What a goal by Booth. Zach Booth had the space and will finish past straight calendar as Real Salt Lake will take a 1-0 lead. Oh, what a goal. Yeah, I know. Whole city beat Borough today, yeah. Yes, I do remember the B-52s in REM. That was an absolute missile into the corner as Booth went short side, past Drake Callender into the back of the net. Good pass right there by Gozo. Even better finish right there as Real Salt Lake will take a 1-0 lead. That was absolutely an absolute missile. As Zach Booth puts Real Salt Lake up 1-0 here in the 22nd minute. Great goal for Real Salt Lake. I was wondering when it was going to come. And in Minnesota, unfortunately, everybody hurts. It's a little REM reference. As Real Salt Lake plays it forward, and they'll come away with it. Here's Gozo. As Minnesota will come away with the ball here. There's a header deflection, so now Real Salt Lake will come away with it as they're trying to weave their way in through the midfield, nearly taken away. As this one goes to Sanabria off the left-hand side. As that one gets played back to Glad here. Here's DeAndre Yedlin, who plays it back to Cabral. I always hate that so much. There's no need to play it back to your keeper and concede space. Especially all your... Oh, here we go. Here's Sergey Solans, who gets past the defense. Solans will get it. Lays it off. Tipped away. There's a shot that's going to be deflected, but it will come back down. Here's Sanabria. Tries to play one in. There's nobody there. That was going to get played out. So Real Salt Lake, as this will be a throw-in here. Looks like as Gene played it out, Spearings was the one that took the shot. So DeAndre Yedlin will have the throw in here. As Minnesota finds itself behind. As Yedlin will play this one into the box. Headed down. And this one looks like it's going to get out of bounds. So this will be a Real Salt Lake throw-in again, as Minnesota didn't necessarily clear their end. As looks like this will be what, Zach Booth for the throw-in here? That'll be Yedlin. As Real Salt Lake is being told to hurry up here, as they've wasted some time. As Yedlin will poke this one forward. As it comes down to Salon, we'll take a shot, but that will go 22 up. Good idea right there, except, wasn't in a good position to really kind of take that shot. Touches so far through the defensive side. Michael Boxall has 16 touches. Justin Gled has 18. As Markanich will head it forward, it will come down to Spearings. Try to get flicked forward by Zavier Gozo, but Minnesota will come away with it. Here's Dieng. As this one is going to get chipped forward down the right-hand side, kept in, and then it goes past the end line. As it looks like Duncan couldn't corral it there. So this will be a goal kick here as Real Salt Lake is playing out of the back. As Yedlin is pressured. Last touch by Minnesota. As Yedlin's not happy. As this ball will go forward into no man's land as Dugan comes away with it for Minnesota here. As Diaz. As this ball gets played back to the keeper by Jane. As Dugan will play this one forward now for Minnesota. Does have Dieng. And they're going to say he was offside. So the all-ladies crew, man, is really cutthroat with the offsides today. It's either that or Dieng is just miles offside. As play resumes now with Real Salt Lake, and Gled now will play it down the left-hand side. Headed forward. And that's going to get played out, so it'll be a Real Salt Lake throw-in. As it'll come away with Minnesota. As this gets played back. As Boxall will play it all over to Dugan. Here's Chancellor. As Yedlin is going to take a yellow for this one. Yeah, I don't know if that's really a yellow. He didn't do it, and it wasn't malicious. Clip the back of his ankle. That's kind of a weak yellow. Either way, Minnesota will have the free kick as Dugan will play this one forward. as Minnesota will keep this one in. Here's Duncan. Tries to play it forward. That's good defense right there by Glad, who tries to clear it. It'll find Dieng here as Duncan will keep it in. As Dieng will try to play it forward. Does spring Markanich. And that one's going to take a deflection. So Minnesota, are they going to say last touch by Real Salt Lake or Minnesota here? And they're going to say this is a goal kick. Fair enough. As Real Salt Lake again will play it out of the back. The MLS All-Star Game coming on July 29th. MLS versus Liga MX. As that ball will get taken away by Minnesota. So here comes Chancellor. As that'll be deflected off by DeAndre Yedlin as Pereira around the corner. So this will be a corner for Minnesota now. As this ball gets whipped in, headed up, and out of play. As Trianis got to the end of it. Not a lot of finishing product right there. As Real Salt Lake now will have possession, as they will play out of the back, as Cabral will play it to the left here. And there's a ball forward. As that'll come back down to Minnesota. As Chancellor will try to pop this one forward. Finds Markanich. As Dugan now will lay it off. As Chancellor now will make the switch. Here's Duncan. As Minnesota now will try to play it in. They do. As that one will go out past the end line. So this will be yet another corner. Good defense by Real Salt Lake as Spearings was there. To make sure that that ball did not come around the corner. This will be Minnesota's third of the first half here. As this ball gets whipped in well over the pack and it will be out. So this will be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake. So Pereira wasn't exactly the greatest corner kick taken right there. For those that are just joining us here in the 33rd minute, Real Salt Lake does lead 1-0 off a goal by Zach Booth. As this ball will get headed out, and it'll be Minnesota throw-in here. As this ball gets played back to Drake Callender. As Diaz will play this one forward, finds Duncan. As that one gets, I have no idea what Duncan was thinking as he just played it out of bounds. I think he was expecting Diaz to come forward. Regardless. As this ball gets tipped. And now here comes Minnesota as Chancellor tries to play it forward. There's Justin Glad. But it comes back down, and Minnesota will have it as Chancellor is fighting along the touchline. That one goes out, and I think Real Salt Lake will have the throw-in. Not a lot of good touch from Minnesota. Heavy touches. Hard to keep possession here. Looks like Dan the Travel Man is asking how am I feeling about tomorrow. I'm feeling actually pretty good about it. I don't have the I don't really have all that nervous energy. Look at this. As Zavier Gozo will take it into the box. Oh, yeah. And they're going to whistle a foul against Gozo? Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. That was a bad call. They're going to say that one went out of bounds, so it'll be Real Salt Lake. No, I'm not really feeling nervous at all. I will say that, the pressure is actually more on Everton than it is on Spurs. Oh, yeah, that was 100% a foul against Minnesota. That should have been a penalty. From the standpoint of we have better attackers than what Everton is going to be able to throw. And what I will say is that, defensively, I'm not going to be too worried about it. I just think that this team is going to be ready. I think this team is going to be ready, and I think I think we're going to end up winning tomorrow's match. This team played in a cup final last year, and they're going to have to treat it exactly that. As Minnesota will come away, there's a switch. Here's Diaz now. As this ball is going to get played forward, looking for Dieng. Will come away with it. Lays it off to Duncan. There's a ball that's going to go into the box. Pereira will try to head it down. Actually, it was Markanich. Tries to head it down. And it was cleared as Minnesota will take it away. And they will hold possession here. Yeah, Solanke's fit. I wouldn't be surprised if Solanke played tomorrow. I would start Madison on the left. There's a ball in, as that's going to be headed away. There's a shot that's going to take a deflection, as Minnesota still comes away with it. Here's Markanich, tries to play it across. That's going to be headed away, as Zach Booth will try to clear it. Salons heads it forward, and it comes down to Minnesota. And Real Salt Lake will come away with it. Here's Salons, plays it off. Here's Gozo now on the right side. Gozo will stop and cut in and lays it off here. There's the ball that's going to get chipped in, headed away, as that'll find Drake Callender. I would have. Actually, I would have Mads on the left, Solanke up top, and then Richarlison off the right. I would have Tell and Mwani coming off the bench. As looks like I don't know what Dieng is doing. He wasn't touched at all. Yeah. See, he's up. As Dieng came deep to make a touch. Yeah, he wasn't really touched at all. Yeah, but that's the thing, is you don't need him to be ready. If you can get 60 out of him, I think that would be great. Regardless, Spurs need to score first and get that crowd into it. They need to do it quick, too. And there's a ball that's going to go down the right-hand side. It does find Duncan as he cuts into space. Here's Chancellor, tries to play one on, but there was nothing on it. As Cabral will come out to make that save. Yeah, what Spurs have to do is score early with like in the first 15 minutes, get that crowd into it, and you know, Everton has no shot. The one thing that Spurs can't do is get dragged into a game that is not theirs. You can't allow Everton to get comfortable early, as that one will go out of play. Oh, that's a bad turnover, as Gozo will come away with this one. As this ball gets chipped to the left-hand side, as Sanabria will lay it off. Here comes Salt Lake. Plays it out to the left. Here's Spearings. And he'll lay this one off. And here is DeAndre Yedlin. As we're in the 40th minute, the win probability now has transferred to Real Salt Lake. They got a 55% chance of winning this one, as Minnesota United has now dropped to an 18.8. And there's a good ball in. Oh, and he gets free. Oh. And it looks like it was here's Akani right there that just couldn't stay up. And it looks like Minnesota's got a player down. Overall, I think I'm actually pretty good with tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow the Hotspur live stream, Spurs versus Everton, will be on the channel, as that one will go off at 10 o'clock here on the East Coast of the United States. And of course, I'll have this on TikTok Live as well, too. Not going to miss out on this one. Of course, it goes down to the final day of the Premier League, decision day. And we will find out ultimately where we're going to be playing next year, whether that's in the Championship or in the Premier League. As there is a whistle, as Pereira quickly tries to play it forward. He's got Markanich. Oh, and that ball goes absolutely nowhere, as Real Salt Lake is absolutely lucky to not have conceded there, as that clearance will come down and it'll find Minnesota United. Here's Chancellor. He's going to make the switch to the right-hand side, does find Duncan, plays it off of Pereira. As here's Jane. We'll play it across to Dugan now as this ball makes its way to the left. Here's Chancellor. 1v1. And now they're going to have to retreat and try the right side now. Here's Duncan. As Trianis will play it to Jane. Here's Dugan now. Here's Markanich. Back to Jane. And there's a shot that'll go wide of the bar, but Real Salt Lake has somebody down here. And it looks like it's Kaliskin. And it looks like he's holding his eye. I'm trying to figure out exactly where the foul was or where the injury was. He's holding his eyes here. So maybe Duncan caught him in the eyes. I don't know. As Pablo Mascheroni is John on the side ref here. But either way, it's going to be a goal kick here, as we're in the 43rd minute here in the first half. Real Salt Lake leading 1-0. Appreciate all that have been tuning in here. Let's see. Who will win, by your opinion? I think it will be Real Salt Lake. I really do. I just think they're the better team today. Kyle Walker, ex-Spurs, thinks Spurs will go down. Well, he's an asshole. He's an asshole, Dan. As this ball gets played forward, it'll be headed down. It'll come away out of bounds, and it'll be Minnesota throwing here as we are coming to the end of the first half. As Minnesota now will be trying to attack quickly here, as Trianis will play it out of bounds, looking for Markanich off the left-hand side, just a little too far forward. So this will be a throw-in for Real Salt Lake. I do hate the rebrands. You know, the Reals and the Uniteds and the FCs. I do like the originality. You know, the Houston Dynamo or the LA Galaxy or the Portland Timbers, the Vancouver Whitecaps, the Montreal Impact, you know, the Seattle Sounders. I like those names. But, you know, the rebrand to the CF Montreals and the, you know, the Reals or the Inters, yeah, it's stupid. Or Austin FC. I like the Columbus Crew. Or SC. St. Louis City SC. It's like, you don't need the soccer club at the end of it. Or, you know, I'm waiting for an American team to have the AFC. You know, like Sacramento AFC. Like, you don't need an Associated Football Club. But there will be a team that'll probably have an AFC, as this one will go out of bounds. So it'll be Minnesota ball here, but 4 minutes of added time has been put here at the end of the first half, as we are already in the 46.5 minute now, as that one was taken away by Real Salt Lake. Here we go. As this one will get pushed to the left now. Sanabria will play it in. It's a bad pass taken away by Dieng. Just terrible passing by both teams, really, in the first half. Not a lot of cohesive passing here. A lot of rush, a lot of forced. As here comes Minnesota. Here's chance to lay down the left-hand side. Overlapped with Dugan. Ball in, as Justin Glad will put this one up. And now Booth will try to clear it, as that ball will get played out of bounds. Like that might have been Sergey Salons. It was. I've never understood the need to rebrand to a Eurocentric, you know, create your own identity. That's the beauty of soccer. That's the beauty of soccer teams. You know, do something that's community driven. I think what's funny is in the USL they have a team called AC Boise. You know, obviously it's in Boise, Idaho, and instead of having Athletic Club Boise, AC Boise, like, you know, they should have tapped into something that's cool about Boise. You know, they have something called the Greenbelt there, and you know, a fixture in their town called the Greenbelt. Like, that would have been, ooh, that's a good header. And it's Dieng, who scores right before the half off a set piece for Minnesota. And this one is all evened up here, as Minnesota was awarded a free kick, as that one was right on the money, as it found Dieng, as Minnesota has equalized right here at the end of the first half. And all of a sudden, This game is knotted at 1. And that was a very good set piece right there, as Dieng was pretty much unmarked as that ball came in. So Minnesota evens this thing out right before the first half. Is he from Ghana or Senegal? I don't know. This one dude's munching on chicken fingers, man. As this one looks like I think this is going to the VAR booth here. As they're going to look at this one to make sure that Dieng wasn't offside. Oh, Minnesota actually had a player offside. Oh no, I think that might have been Boxall who was offside. As that ball was kicked, yeah, there was a dude that was standing 5 feet out. So Minnesota United gets their goal taken off for offside. Oh, that sucks. Wah, wah, wah. No dice. As that good goal was taken away, as Minnesota was actually lined up offside. So this will be a long goal kick here, as we are pretty much at the end of the first half. As this thing gets booted downfield by Cabral, as it's headed forward, as that finds, and I think there's going to be they're going to say it went out of bounds. That was a foul. That should have been a free kick right there, as he was absolutely tripped up. As this one will get played out of bounds. So it'll be yet another free kick for Minnesota. As we are waiting for the final whistle here at the end of the first half. As we are in the 50, there it is right there. So that is the end of the first half. Let's go ahead and get into the stats here. At half, as Minnesota United does lead the possession battle 56-44. Not exactly expected, but listen, man, credit Minnesota for the first half. I will say that possession-wise, they've been far more aggressive. The XG battle, Minnesota 0.26 to Real Salt Lake 0.25. Total shots, each team has 6. Shots on target, Real Salt Lake 1, Minnesota 0. Neither team has any big chances. Accurate passes, Minnesota 192, Salt Lake 148. Yellow cards, let's see. Real Salt Lake has 1, Minnesota has none. Corners, Minnesota has taken 3 to Salt Lake's 0. XG from open play, Real Salt Lake 0.25, Minnesota 0.08. XG off set play, 0.18 for Minnesota, 0.0 for Real Salt Lake. Shots, block shots, Real Salt Lake has 2 to Minnesota's 1. Neither have hit the woodwork. Shots inside the box, Real Salt Lake has 2, Minnesota has 1. Shots outside the box, 5-4, and it kind of lets you know exactly where Minnesota's kind of playing from. Real Salt Lake has done a very good job of not letting them in the box. Total passes, 233 to 191 to Minnesota. Passes in the own half, 109-89 for Minnesota. Passes in the opposition half, 83-59, again to Minnesota. Accurate long balls, 19-7 to Minnesota. And accurate crosses will go to Minnesota as well, 2-0. Throws, Real Salt Lake 13-12. Touches in the opposition box, 11-7 to Minnesota. And Minnesota's been offside 4 times. Discipline, Real Salt Lake again has 1 yellow card to Minnesota's 0. Neither has had red cards and fouls committed. Salt Lake has 8 Minnesota has none. Defensively, Salt Lake leads the tackle battle 13-10. Both teams have 6 interceptions. Minnesota has one more block to Salt Lake 2-1, as Salt Lake also has 11 clearances to Minnesota's 5. Neither keeper has a save. Duels, Minnesota's leading the duel battle 30-25. They also lead the ground duels 22-16. Salt Lake leads the aerial duel 9-8, and successful dribbles, Minnesota leads that one 4-3. So really the synopsis here in the first half is the fact that, a little surprising is Minnesota was the aggressive team as far as possession, and they've held the possession in Real Salt Lake's end, but Real Salt Lake was able to take advantage of a little bit of a loose defense as Zach Booth was able to score that goal. Zavier Gozo has absolutely been, pretty much everywhere as he, worked to get open, had a couple opportunities, and of course, either pushed it wide left or over the crossbar so high that essentially it went into orbit. But that being said, that kid does have next level ability to beat his man 1v1 and be a game changer for Real Salt Lake. It's just Real Salt Lake has been the team that's kind of been on the back foot, and when they do get forward, not working it deep, not working it through the middle. It's literally just, okay, cool. Center back has the ball, tries to play it out to either Yedlin or Sanabria, and then that ball goes forward. Minnesota does work, has been working the midfield a little bit better, but neither team have really established a fine touch on the ball, heavy-handed touches and a lot of turnovers, and it's been a little back and forth. So that's kind of where we are. Taking a look at Major League Soccer today. So far, there's only been one match that's completed as St. Louis City SC, the soccer club in St. Louis. They did beat Austin FC, the football club in Austin, 3-0 as Guillermo Brio had an own goal for Austin in the 39th minute, but Falu Fall scored in the 55th minute, and Daniel Edelman scored in the 89th minute as St. Louis City ACSC wins that one 3-0. Of course, this one is at the half. Later today, Cincinnati will host Orlando City. Charlotte will host New England. DC United hosts CF Montreal. Chicago hosts Toronto. Nashville will take on NYCFC. Sporting will take on the New York Red Bulls. Later tonight, San Diego will take on Vancouver. Colorado takes on Dallas. Portland will take on San Jose. And the Houston Galaxy will take on the Houston Dynamo tomorrow. At 5 o'clock Eastern, Columbus will take on Atlanta United. Inter Miami will take on Philadelphia, and LAFC will host my Seattle Sounders. And that is the look around Major League Soccer at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how both of these teams adjust at the half. For Minnesota, they're going to have to get a little bit more than just playing it down the left-hand side. That has been the predominant way that they have been trying to get through. They will try to work it into midfield spaces, but ultimately the ball will kick out to the left, and you'll see Markanich and Chancellor try to weave their way down the left-hand side. Now, credit Real Salt Lake because they have done a very good job of sending an extra defender out there. And more oftentimes than not, you'll see a 2v1, and there's not really from that standpoint. It's either the ball goes back, or maybe they'll try to play it off somebody and get a corner. We've seen that on a few occasions, but for the most part, they tried to open up the right hand side, but again, Real Salt Lake has done a fairly decent job defending to limit touches in the box, to limit the damage of what you would see of, having Dieng kind of weave his way in into, high percentage shots, in front of Cabral. So credit Real Salt Lake defensively. on the other end of the ball, on the other end, I have, it is what it is. That is Salt Lake's attack, right? It is utilize your speed, play one over the top, and see what happens, right? Because today, we have seen Sergey Solans beat his man and get in the box. We've seen Zavier Gozo do that as well too, and not to much acclaim, but that being said, it seems to be a working combination. On the occasion where they do work that midfield and try to push that ball forward, yes, they scored a goal off of it, but more oftentimes than not, it's errant passes, and it's just not really conductive football. But that being said, I think Pablo Mastroeni is going to continue to play this style of football because obviously it works. I mean, look at where Real Salt Lake currently sits in the table. Obviously, something is working right for him. I'm not expecting any changes for Real Salt Lake. I can't imagine that would happen. They're chasing their second goal to put this thing away. For Minnesota, I don't expect any changes either. I can't imagine that happening either. Being down a goal, they nearly got that equalizer off a set piece, and if it wasn't for offsides, this thing would have been tied. So either way, I can't see any type of changes. As we are preparing ourselves for the second half, man. I did like the fact that, Real Salt Lake did get that goal from an outside back. It was just an unbelievable finish, and of course it was assisted by Gozo. But it's going to have to be a little bit more than that for Real Salt Lake. You're going to have to figure out a way to spring Gozo a little bit more. Sergey Solans is going to have to get involved here, and I'd like to see Spearings get a little bit more, push up a little bit higher. That would potentially ease some pressure off of Gozo, where he might be able to work a run, past Diaz. That might help a little bit. So I don't know. We'll see. I can't imagine that happening again, considering that they just like to play balls forward. But we'll see. We'll see. As we are pretty close again to start the second half. It's going to be interesting to see how this summer transfer window works out for Major League Soccer. I think there is this narrative that post-World Cup that we're going to see some player movement coming into the league, and that very well may be true. That might be true. I don't know, like a big part of me thinks that when these national teams come to the United States and when they realize the travel involved in the United States, like once we get a little bit past the group stages, because as it currently sets up that, the West Coast teams are going to be in and on the West Coast, same thing on the East Coast, and same for the Midwest. But once you get past the group stages and these players kind of realize the travel to the United States, I don't know, a big part of me thinks there's going to be players that may or may not have been thinking about it, but once they kind of realize exactly what goes on in the United States, I have a feeling that, there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be like, is it going to be worth the bag? I don't know. But I am curious to see exactly how certain teams absolutely perform in the summer window. We have heard that Inter Miami is looking at Casemiro as Casemiro's contract comes up with Manchester United. As a matter of fact, after this upcoming weekend, when the season ends, his contract comes up, and so word is that Casemiro is going to sign for Inter Miami. I guess the question is, how is Miami going to make this thing work? They already got 3 DPs, and they've already maxed out their target allocation money. So how are they going to make that work, right? Are they going to have to move a player, buy down one of their DPs into TAM, to be able to to afford the likes of Casemiro? And I no doubt that Inter Miami has been missing that level at the defensive mid position when Sergio Busquets retired. And ever since then, Miami kind of has been leaking goals. Their back line doesn't necessarily look as good as it did last year. And so the idea of Casemiro makes sense for a team like Inter Miami as they're chasing yet again another MLS Cup. So I guess the question is how are they going to work that one out? But, the idea of maybe even a Robert Lewandowski coming over, we're going to get Antoine Griezmann into the league. But, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how some of these teams operate this upcoming summer. It'll be interesting to see what San Jose does. San Jose, currently is second in the Western Conference, tied on points with Vancouver. But that being said, I kind of expect them to be a potential player this summer as they try to slide themselves in the Western Conference. Maybe Seattle does something, although Seattle hasn't necessarily been as big as a player when it comes to the transfer market as I'd like them to be. But it is what it is. Although maybe they could use another striker. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. But we're getting ready to start this second half here in Minnesota, as it looks like the players have come out now. And Minnesota will have possession to start the second half, as they're going to be playing from left to right. As Real Salt Lake will look to be coming out to try to extend this lead, put this game away early in the second half. For Minnesota, it is utilize the first 10 minutes and try to get back into this match. If they're able to do that, then all bets are off. Once you get it back to a 0-0 game, then it's roughly a 3-minute shootout into the final whistle, and then it's going to be strength versus strength. So both of these teams are going to have that want to utilize that first 10 minutes. So we'll see exactly how it plays out. Me personally, I kind of feel like Real Salt Lake is going to be the team that wins this one. But again, it's going to be interesting to see the way that Minnesota plays this one. I fully expect Minnesota to be the exact same team that we saw in the first half. Nothing suggests that they're going to be anything otherwise. And I thought Minnesota would be the counterattacking team. It turns out, not so much. Not so much. That's awesome. That's awesome, cameraman. You're showing a fat girl eating ice cream. Don't do that to her. Come on, cameraman. Don't do that to the nice lady. That's the last thing I want to see. All right, so we're about ready to start the second half. As Minnesota will have possession to start. And we're underway here as this ball gets played back to Drake Callender, who will sail this one down the left-hand side, as that one will get headed forward and it'll get out of play. So this will be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake, as Minnesota's playing to their supporters group at the north end. And play has resumed as Cabral will play it out to that left side. And it looks like there's going to be a whistle here. So they'll start this one again. Here's Glad to play it back to Cabral. Slide it out to Angle. And this ball will go forward and out of play. So Minnesota will have the throw in here as Diaz will play it in. As Trianis will play it back to Diaz. All the way over to Dugan. As this ball will go down the inside, looking for Duncan. As that ball gets played off Sanabria. As this will be a throw in here for Minnesota. As it looks like it'll be Boxall who will make the throw here. This is going to be most likely a long throw into the box here. As that one will be headed back out. And Boxall will do it again. As the win probabilities have exceeded Real Salt Lake's way, as that one will come down. It away. As Chancellor will try to play it in. And Pereira's down on the ground. There's not going to be a whistle. As Angle will play it in. As that's going to be taken away by Pereira. Flicked on. Played over Dieng. That's a bad mistake. Here's Duncan now off the right-hand side. Flips it in. As Yedlin will play it off. As Chancellor will come away. So Real Salt Lake. A very bad turnover there as Diaz tries to play one, and that'll take a header. As that one will go out of play as Real Salt Lake dodges a bullet here. Bad mistake by Salt Lake in that giveaway as Minnesota easily could have turned that thing into a goal. As it looks like this will be Angle throwing it in for Real Salt Lake. As Spearing now comes away with the ball. And here comes Zach Booth, and he's got Acreage in front of him. As they clear the halfway line, he stops and plays it back. Why, buddy? God, I hate that. Your first initial reaction is play the ball back. As this ball gets played all the way back to Cabral. Again, I don't understand. As Glad will play it back again, as Salt Lake has conceded all that territory. Here's DeAndre Yedlin now, as he's got Acreage in front of him, and he's racing forward here. As Yedlin plays it over, back to Yedlin, all to the other side. There's a play. Ooh, there's a play in. That's going to take a deflection. And I think Real Salt Lake will get their first corner. As Sanabria was open on the left side of the box. And Sanabria has got to take that shot right there. And instead he tried to pass it in. But nevertheless, it will be a corner here for Real Salt Lake as this ball gets whipped in. And that's going to be headed over the crossbar. So this will be a goal kick for Minnesota now as we're in the 50th minute. As Drake Callender will play it out of the back here. And there he's sending everybody forward. As Callender will play this long. Down the left side as Dieng came up to make a header. And now he'll just boot this forward. As that's going to be tipped forward as Mark Hanich will come down with it. And here's Boxall. As Dugan plays it forward. That's a nice little takeaway right there by Salt Lake. Why are you passing it back? The first initial, he's not even looking forward. He's looking backwards. Why are you passing it back? And there's a turnover. Thankfully, Real Salt Lake was able to get it back from Zavier Gozo, but good Lord, man, your first initial reaction isn't. And Gozo will come away with it yet again as Dugan tried to take it away. There's a ball in. As Sergey Salons tried to get past Boxall right there, as there's no foul there, but there's a takeaway right there from Yedlin, who tries to play it back. There's just nobody there. So here's Zhen for Minnesota. Here's Dieng playing it forward. And it looks like there's probably going to be an offside. Yeah, there will be. So play resumes with Real Salt Lake here. As that one will take a bounce off of Gozo. As this one will go out of bounds. Real Salt Lake has the throw in. As Engel will play this one in. As Salons tries to play it across, it's taken away by Chancellor. And that's just too heavy a touch as Real Salt Lake comes away with it now. As this one gets played to the left, here's Gozo. Gozo tries to take a shot, and it'll take a deflection off a Minnesota defender. So this will go out for a corner. As Zavier Gozo cut in. Tried to take a shot, it just takes a deflection. As it looks like this one went off a Boxall's shoulder. It did. So this will be a corner. As it looks like Sanabria will take this corner as they'll play it short. There's the chip in. Back post headed down. And they're going to say this is a goal kick for Minnesota as it went out. As Minnesota now is going to play it through their midfield. Here's Pereira as that'll play it to the left as Chancellor is going to have to. Actually, that was Markanich. So here's Chancellor now. He's going to lay it off for Zhen. Here's Pereira. As this one will go forward now. And back it goes. Here's Chancellor now. As Jean now will move it to the right-hand side. Here's Diaz. As plays it low to Duncan now. And that ball's going to have to go back too. Real Salt Lake has done a pretty good job here. As Minnesota can't work it down either side at the moment. Here's Chancellor now. That's going to be tipped off. And Real Salt Lake will come away with it. Here's Salons trying to get around. And they do. Oh, and they're going to whistle it against Salons as Boxall hit the deck. Play resumes. Here comes Minnesota now. As Pereira will cut back. That's a good move right there by Pereira. Finds the inside. Here's Duncan. Good move right there with Triantis. As Diaz tries to play it in, that's going to be intercepted. And that was just a bad pass conceded right back to Minnesota. Here's Chancellor now. In the box, tries to cut. Does a good job. That's good defense right there by Real Salt Lake as that will go out for a Minnesota throw-in. As we're now in the 56th minute now. Real Salt Lake leads 1-0. So Boxall will have the throw-in, as this one most likely will be the long sort here. As that one gets headed forward. It tried to get cleared here, as that one eventually will go out. So this will be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake, as Chancellor was unable to do anything there. As that was actually a good throw-in right there, as it was headed forward. But Sergey Salons was there for Salt Lake. As Gled now will have to play this one long, as he does. As there's a whistle, and I think they're going to say this one was against DeAndre Yedlin. I don't understand how that's against Yedlin. He was playing the ball as Markanich ran into him. Let's see. Kolomwani will dress. He'll probably start. As a free kick has been awarded to Minnesota here. As coming up here, as Yedlin was limping there after that. So this will be a free kick here for Minnesota from a fairly deep position here off the left side here. As Pereira play it in, headed on forward, and then that's going to go wide. So this will be a goal kick here. I don't know why people are making a big deal about it. You know, Diego being I guess, but that ball's going to go out of play. I guess it's something, but, I don't necessarily think it was a snub. I understand the thought process behind it. So Real Salt Lake will make a couple changes here. As DeAndre Yedlin will come off for Real Salt Lake here in the 60th minute. Here is Connie will come off for Rodriguez dos Santos, and Quinton will come in for DeAndre Yedlin. As that ball quickly gets played out by Quinton. So this will be a throw-in, as Real Salt Lake nearly gave another one away. As Boxall will have a throw-in here for Minnesota. And it seems like in the last 15 minutes, this game has been played in Real Salt Lake's end here. As Boxall will throw this one in. And that one will be headed away. As chasing it out. That's good defense right there by Real Salt Lake to avoid the corner. So Boxall again will have the long throw in. As no long throw in here as that ball goes in. Tipped over, now headed away. And that's going to get cleared. As Zavier Gozo tried to play it forward. And that'll get out of play. As it'll be a Real Salt Lake throw-in. As it looks like Santa Bria will have the throw-in here. Nope, it'll be Engel. As Minnesota does come away with this, as that ball will go all the way down, but there's Cabral. As that's a good chip for. That was, Boxall pushes home dude in the back. No whistle. Okay. As that one will go out for a Minnesota throw-in. That was weak. That's the biggest issue with refereeing, is they will have no, pro refs have no problem blowing the whistle on ticky-tack fouls, but when it actually comes to, fouls that absolutely need to be called, they're nowhere to be found. It's just absolutely shambolic refereeing. On the one hand, you can appreciate the fact that a ref is going to let two teams play, but that being said, it's like when it comes to actual, that's a good ball. That's a good ball into Chancellor. Plays it forward. And there you go. As Engel makes Engel is there to break it up. As Markanich is holding his shin like he got shot. And there's going to be a whistle right there as physios will come out. But there you go. It's absolutely shambolic that, you're allowed to be rough in this league without any type of remuneration. But when it comes to really stupid ticky-tack fouls, the whistle get blown. It's just beyond me. I mean, it could be worse. It could be PGMOL that actively gives teams an advantage in the Premier League. As Duncan will come out for Longwayne, Minnesota. It's funny, right? Because Arsenal became the first team in Premier League history to not have a red card or not concede a penalty. Gee, I wonder why. We have Alejandro Ruiz, who wins Salt Lake. How it looks, Hala likes. As play resumes here. As Minnesota now will control it, as Real Salt Lake couldn't do much. As this one gets headed forward. And Real Salt Lake, instead of actually just calmly getting the ball to your foot, you just play it forward for no goddamn reason. Good Lord, man. It's like you're just playing for this. You're playing, Real Salt Lake is playing like a 1-0 lead is going to be good enough. As that one makes its way to Santa Bria, as it's taken away, Jesus, it's taken away from Gozo. There you go. That takes deflection. And now here comes Minnesota. Down the left-hand side. Here's Chancellor as he's trying to figure out what he wants to do here. Now he finally chips it over, finds the back post, and it hits the side netting, but I think this is going to be a corner for Minnesota. It will be. Salt Lake is lucky that they didn't score here. But that's the point. It's, Salt Lake is not playing with any sort of sense of urgency here. As this ball gets whipped in, and that'll be headed away. And here comes Spearings now. As that ball will cross. Here's Santa Bria now. As that ball will find its way to Salt Lake's back line here. As that was just a bad touch. Thankfully, Salt Lake will hold possession here. As this one gets played back to Glad here. And now he'll chip it back to Cabral. Why? Not everybody needs to touch the ball. As Cabral will play it out. Here's Engel now. As it's Sergey Salons. And Salons doesn't get the call. As Minnesota comes away with it. 2 fouls occurred right there. No whistle blown. As here comes Chancellor now. As Minnesota's playing quickly now. As that one gets cleared away. As that was nearly taken away by Minnesota. Both of these teams are playing reckless at the moment. As that's taken away by Minnesota. Oh, there's going to be a whistle there. Okay. I was going to say. I swear to God, man. This undisciplined style of football is driving me absolutely batshit crazy. As Duncan, you're going to have to play this now. There you go. As that ball goes up over the top, it finds Salons. As he's going to lay this off. As Salons now will play one in. That's going to be a save by Drake Callender as it bounces all the way out. So this will be a throw in for Real Salt Lake. Good ball in, good in ball right there from Salons. Sergio from Spain. As this will be a throw in for Real Salt Lake. Looking to double up here in the 69th minute. As this one will go in. Immediately it's headed away and out of bounds, so they'll do it again. That was a terrible throw. As this one on the inbounds, as there tries to be a cross, that one gets blocked out by Longwayne. As we're in the 70th minute, 20 minutes remain, and Salt Lake will have a corner here as Santa Bria now will swing this one in as it's immediately headed out and played back to Cabral. As Cabral will play one forward. Looking for Santa Bria. As Gozo tries to get it back, but he gets burnt. Chancellor plays one forward. Does have Longwayne. As he tries to play one, and he shoots it wide. Oh, he had an open net. And they're going to say it took a deflection, but he had an open net. As Cabral was out. Oh, man. That was ugly. As Longwayne beat Justin Glad. And looks like it will take a deflection off Duncan, but man, he had an open net. As Minnesota has been the aggressor this entire second half. As this one will go to the back post. As there's going to be a foul on the play as Sanabria goes down. As this one was against Genet. So this will be a free kick for Real Salt Lake. As they are just getting by the skin of their teeth here. Pretty soon, Minnesota's gonna score. They've been knocking on the door here in this entire second half. As Real Salt Lake has been able to do absolutely nothing in the second half. It'll be Cabral as he will play this one long. Headed forward as Dieng was able to get to it there. And Minnesota will head it forward again. As Glad will play it forward. As this one will go all the way back. And here's Dugan now. Taken away by Salt Lake. And now Chancellor will come away with it as this one will go out. So it'll be a Minnesota throw-in. In other news, in these dead periods that you find in MLS games, as they're showing replays or whatever, when there is dead time when a ref blows his whistle if it goes out of bounds. Apparently, MLS wants to use a stop clock so they can insert 20-second advertising spot, 20-second advert spots as a way to cut down on time wasting. And unfortunately, that's not how you cut down on time wasting, as it looks like there's somebody down now. And it is Sanabria. So play is about to resume here. As it looks like Longwayne potentially may have gotten him with spikes as he was down. And it looks like there's going to be a foul, and a yellow card comes out here on Kalixkin. As the reasonably good-looking referee isn't hearing it. So this will be a free kick for Minnesota here as we're approaching the 75th minute. 15 minutes remain here in the second half. As this ball gets sent in, and it's going to be headed away. But Longwayne will come down with it here for Minnesota. Chancellor plays it into Jean. Here's Chancellor now as he's going to try to dribble in. And Justin Glad will clear this one away as Longwayne will play it all the way back to Drake Callender. And Minnesota resets here as Diaz will play it forward. Looking for Dieng here. As that ball is taken away. Chancellor is coming after it. He'll keep it in. So Minnesota will continue to attack. Here's Chancellor now. Plays it in. That one will get cleared. But it finds Chancellor right there on the left. As Justin Glad will try to head it away. And now the Salt Lake will clear their box. As Zavier Gozo tried to play for that ball. And the ball forward from Real Salt Lake will go all the way back, but Diaz is there. And Minnesota will try yet again. And Real Salt Lake is perfectly fine bunkering on a 1-goal lead here. As that ball is going to go down the right-hand side, and it's going to be offside. As Longwayne was ruled offside. So coming in for Minnesota now will be Will Trapp, as Trianis will come off. So Will Trapp, the MLS veteran, will check in. And it looks like Gonzalez is coming in for Minnesota, as Markanich will come off now. Pair of fresh legs now for Minnesota, as there's the switch to the right-hand side, as Chancellor just takes it away. Just no hustle for Real Salt Lake. So here comes Minnesota now, as they're dribbling in space, plays it out to Dieng, and that's good defense right there by Glad. As Salt Lake now gets caught on the left-hand touchline, and it's taken away. As Will Trapp will play it forward. Here we go. As Minnesota. Here's Pereira. Pereira's going to take a shot. That one's going to be deflected, and that one will go out. So this will be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake, as Pereira couldn't make anything happen there. It feels like Minnesota is on the doorstep here. And Olatunji is about to check in for Real Salt Lake. As Booth will come off. And, of course, Zach Booth scored the goal in the first half, as where we have our current scoreline, 1-0, Real Salt Lake. So Olatunji will check in as play is resumed here, as Glad will play this one long. And Minnesota will come down with it. Here's Longwayne. Hands it off to Pereira. There's a ball in. Duncan will head it up, and that'll go out. So Minnesota, again, will have another corner. As Minnesota, I believe this is their 6th. As this ball will be whipped in, it's going to be headed away. As Jean will come down with it for Minnesota. Chancellor will save it from going out. Here's Pereira. Oh, almost good defense right there by Real Salt Lake, but it does find its way in. It's Gonzalez. And that'll make its way out to Pereira. Pereira's going to play one in. Back post, headed over the crossbar. As it did find Dugan right there. Yep. A good opportunity for Minnesota, as Dugan was unmarked, as that one just was off target. So this will be a goal kick for Real Salt Lake, as we're entering the 80th minute now. 10 minutes to play. As there's going to be a whistle, as Rodriguez was hounded by Will Trapp right there. It's a trap! As this will be a free kick by Glad, who plays it out to Angle. As they circle down the right-hand side, as Duncan will play one forward. That was just too much right there. Oh, good save right there, as Olatunji plays one in. That's a good goal. That's good goalkeeping right there by Drake Callender, as Zavier Gozo tried to get around the corner. And he's slow to get up, but he's up. Here comes Minnesota now. Down the right-hand side as Longwayne will lay it off to Diaz. As Sergei Salons nearly tried to pick his back pocket. It didn't work. As Minnesota has 9 minutes to get the equalizer here. As Dugan now will make the switch to the right-hand side. Does find Diaz. And Diaz will try to play this one forward. Here's Pereira. And now he's going to make the switch to the left-hand side. Finds Chancelly. And that's good defense by Zavier Gozo. He's going to try to chip this one forward. And that was just a terrible ball forward. As Olatunji was nowhere near that. That was just a bad forward ball right there by Gozo. As Minnesota will make a double switch here. As looks like Genet is coming off. As Fritz will come on. And it looks like Dieng is coming off as well, too, for Minnesota. So Caldera comes on, and Fritz will come on for Minnesota. As this one will get out of play, and it'll be a Minnesota throw-in. So we are in the 82nd minute now. 8 minutes remain. As here comes Minnesota. Here's Fritz. As that one is taken away. Here's Duncan. He's got to make a quick move. He does. He just clears it. Olatunji tries to get on it, but that's going to be taken away by Dugan. And Minnesota now will try to get forward yet again. That's a good through ball, just too heavy. As it finds Cabral. And he'll pick this up as Caldera makes a play, but Cabral will play this one long. As Olatunji will come away with it. That's a good play right there. Here's Salons playing it forward now. That's a good ball in. Oh, terrible from Real Salt Lake. And Sanabria just didn't have the legs to catch up. As that could have been their second. As Duncan will play this one out. And Engel is down now. Oh, here comes the time wasting. As the physios come out because it looks like Engel's got a cramp. It's the patented cramp. Uh-oh. Not the cramp, not the leg cramp. Let me get the energy gel. That'll help. Ugh. I hate it. Oh, looks like, okay, let's see. Damn, you guys are going off. You guys are going off in the chat here. Damn. So yeah, looks like Engel is dealing with the cramp here in the 85th minute. He's got the gel though. He's got that energy gel or whatever it is, and it looks like he's fine. Yeah. As that did erase a good couple minutes here. as it looks like he's going to have to come out for a quick hot second as play resumes here. It looks like actually he's going to come off here. So Junko is going to come in now for Real Salt Lake. And they're going to make another change as well, too, as Spearings is going to come off. And checking in for Real Salt Lake will be Dylan, as there is a throw-in, as Minnesota will try to keep it in. And as Ola Tunji will just play it out, so they'll do this one again. As we are pushing the 87th minute now. As Boxall will play it in. As that'll come down to Pereira. Here's Trapp, tries to chip it forward. Good defense right there as Glad will head it away as Salons is trying to hold it. As that one was taken away by Gozo, as that one gets played out. So this will be a Real Salt Lake throw in here as we're now in the 87th minute. So we will probably have at least 5 minutes of added time at the end of this one, because Real Salt Lake did waste a little time there with the cramp. So this ball gets played forward as Minnesota will try to chip it forward. Real Salt Lake will come down with it. Sanabria. As there is going to be a whistle, as that one will be against Diaz, is down on the ground. And there's the leg kicks. As he gets shot in the back here. As Dylan tries to egg it. As he is down now. Yeah. Oh, look at that. He's okay. Look at that. Oh, okay. Did I get the call? Yeah, okay, cool. As we resume play here, it's going to be a free kick for Real Salt Lake. It'll be Sanabria that will take this free kick here. And there's a chip in, headed forward, as Salons falls on his butt there, but that's going to get cleared. As that'll go back to Cabral, who immediately has to play it forward, and that'll get out of bounds. So this will be a Minnesota throw-in. As Longwayne will immediately play it in as we're in the 89th minute now. Minnesota does trail by 1. There's a ball forward. As that's rescued by Minnesota. Here's Longwayne. Here's Gonzalez. Plays it forward. It's Will Trapp. It's a trap! There's a ball in. Headed away by Olatunji. Here's Longwayne trying to play it in. As that will stay in bounds. It's Chancellor. Here's Dugan. Plays to Pereira. There's a chip to the back post, and there's Cabral right there for Real Salt Lake. As we are now at the 90th minute. 6 minutes of added time here. As that ball will get played all the way down. As Olatunji will come away with this for Real Salt Lake. Plays it forward. Oh, yeah. Oh, that should have been a foul right there against Dugan. No whistle. Unreal. Unreal. As this one makes its way to the right-hand side to Diaz, who's going to try to play this one forward. As that's going to be offsides against Caldera. 5 minutes remain as we get to the 91st. In honesty, who would take Luna over Reyna, though? I actually had both on my roster. I actually like the skill set Luna brings, but that being said, the position battle actually was between Luna and Zendejas. And the thing about Zendejas is he also has earned an opportunity to be at the World Cup as well too. And when you're looking at options off the bench, who's going to be able to provide that spark, that touch of magic, that goal that you absolutely need. It's like you can understand why Luna was left back. And it's not a knock against Luna. Luna's actually a very good player. That's going to be a tackle against Diaz, as that one will go out of play. So they're going to rule this a goal kick. And this isn't a knock against Luna. I think Luna's a good player. I really do. And I think that he's going to be a part of the core that's going to make up the 2030 team. But I would like to see Luna challenge himself overseas, get that move overseas, where it's skill set versus skill set. I mean, the thing about Major League Soccer is the defenses are terrible, and I just want to see Luna take that next step. But I do think that I think his national team career is going to flourish. I mean, 2025 was his first year with the senior national team, so Luna's got a bright future with the national team. I just think for this World Cup, Mauricio Pochettino wants to win it. So he is assembling. There's a ball in. Back post. Oh, and it finds the back of the net as Minnesota has found an equalizer in the 93rd minute, and it'll be Gonzalez on a header. What a goal right there by Minnesota. As they do find the equalizer, it'll be Gonzalez at the back post. As Minnesota, this was going to happen. They've been knocking on the doorstep for the last 30 minutes. And it was a good goal. As it looks like Gonzalez just beat Justin Glad at the back post. As Minnesota finds the equalizer late. And you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. And that's what Real Salt Lake gets for trying to bunker on a 1-0 lead instead of pushing forward and getting that second goal. They got exactly what they were looking for. They got exactly what had coming. As this one will go back to Cabral. 2 minutes remain now. You never assume, especially in Major League Soccer, never assume that a 1-goal lead is safe. As Cabral will play this downfield. And that's exactly what Real Salt Lake did. They just played 10 behind the ball and decided to play defense. And it's like, okay, cool, that's going to last for a little bit. But here comes Salt Lake now, as they're going to try to chip one over, trying to find Olatunji. But Salt Lake will hold it now as they play this one back. Here's Glad. Plays it back to Cabral. That's so dumb. But that just gets kicked out of bounds. They just wasted another possession. Instead of pushing early in the second half, looking for the second goal, putting Minnesota to the sword, they just played 10 behind the ball. As there's a whistle there. As Fritz is going to get hit with a foul there. But yeah, it's ridiculous to me that Real Salt Lake played that second half the way they did. Up one, you need that second goal. You absolutely need that second goal. As this one gets played. Here's Zavier Gozo. As that ball goes in, and that is going to go all the way up. And again, Salt Lake just wasted another set piece as Duncan anyway. Like in Major League Soccer, you can't assume that a 1-goal lead is going to be safe. And instead of attacking right out of the gate, they just allowed Minnesota just to carry the possession. And they just bunkered. And it cost them. It cost them 3 points. As this one will go all the way back. So we are at the 96. Actually, we're approaching the 97th here. So this one is nearly over as Cabral will come out to take this free kick here for Real Salt Lake. And it's a shame, too, because I actually thought that Real Salt Lake was the better team coming in. And I did mention that Minnesota does play differently at home than they do on the road. But Real Salt Lake is just a better team. And they didn't play like the better team. And so there's your final as it goes final. There's your final as it goes final. That's a good one, Steve. Anyway, 1-1 was your was your final score here as Minnesota finds a late equalizer. Let's go ahead and get to the stats here, the full-time stats, as Minnesota did win the possession battle 57-43, XG 0.86 to 0.33, total shots Minnesota 11, Real Salt Lake 8. Both teams only had one shot on target. Big chances. Minnesota had 2. They missed 1. Real Salt Lake had 0. Accurate passes 361 to 262. Corners. Minnesota had 6. Real Salt Lake had 3. XG from open play 0.41 for Minnesota to 0.29. XG on set play 0.44 to 0.04. Let's see. Total shots on target 1-1, block shots 3-3. Neither team hit the woodwork. Shots inside the box, Minnesota 5, Salt Lake 4. Shots outside the box 6-4 to Minnesota. Total passes 454 to 352. Passes in the own half, Minnesota 188, Salt Lake 159. Passes in the opposition half 173-104 to Minnesota. Accurate long balls 33-19 to Minnesota. Accurate crosses 10-1 to Minnesota. Throws 31-19, touches in the opposition box 27-12 to Minnesota, which is absolutely ridiculous. Offsides, by the way, Minnesota was offside 7 times to Real Salt Lake 0. Yellow cards, Salt Lake had 2 to Minnesota's 0s. Neither team had a red card, and fouls committed 11-6. To the defense, Real Salt Lake won the tackle battle 21-15. They also won the interceptions 14-13. Both teams had 3 blocks. Clearances, Salt Lake had 39 to Minnesota's 14. Neither keeper had a save. Minnesota won the duel battle 53-49, although Salt Lake did win the ground duels 32-31. Aerial duels, Minnesota wins that one 22-17, and both teams had 5 successful dribbles. Again, I think that it was absolutely disappointing, really, because Real Salt Lake was kind of the better team coming into this one, and just the way that they approached that second half was absolutely shambolic. The ability to think you're okay with a 1-goal lead, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that being said, that's not any way to that's not any way to play a game of football. But I guess it is what it is. So that's that. Quickly before we take off, again, today in Major League Soccer, only one game has gone final. St. Louis did beat Austin FC 3-0, and of course later today, Cincinnati will take on Orlando. Charlotte will host New England. DC United will host Montreal. Chicago will host Toronto. Nashville hosts NYCFC. Sporting will play the New York Red Bulls. San Diego hosts Vancouver. Colorado hosts Dallas. Portland will host San Jose, and the LA Galaxy will host the Dynamo. Tomorrow, Columbus will host Atlanta United. Inter Miami will play Philadelphia, and LAFC will host Seattle. And that is your schedule for Week 15 here in Major League Soccer. And of course, today with the final 1-1, Real Salt Lake does pick up a point and holds a 2-point advantage over Seattle for third place in the Western Conference. Minnesota, by the way, does move up to sixth place on 22 points. So there you go. Quite interesting, man. Quite interesting matchup. I guess give credit to Minnesota because, again, they were just the aggressive team. You knew that goal was coming sometime in the second half. I mean, they were literally playing in Real Salt Lake's end the entire time, but it is what it is. Good game. But that's going to do it for me, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow with the Hotspur live stream as Spurs will host Everton as the Premier League season will come to a close tomorrow. It is decision day, and we will find out exactly which team will be going down. Will it be Spurs or will it be West Ham? That will be tomorrow, 10 o'clock on the live stream. I will see you then. I hope you guys take advantage, and I hope I will see you there. Please remember to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Take care, guys.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies.